Imagine the US government handing thousands of assault rifles to the cartel on purpose. Sounds like a bad movie, right? But in 2010, it actually happened. The ATF ran a top-secret op out of Arizona. They called it Fast and Furious, and their master plan to take down cartel kingpins. It was absolutely unhinged. They approved a tactic called gun walking. They literally let smugglers walk into gun shops, buy military-grade weapons, and just leave. The idea was to track these guns across the border, straight to the bosses. But here's the kicker, they didn't even put trackers on the guns. Almost instantly, they completely lost the trail. Over 2,000 deadly weapons just vanished into Mexico. No surveillance, no backup plan, just a massive, real-time disaster. The ATF was basically arming the exact people they were supposed to be stopping. Then, on December 14th, the ultimate nightmare happened. US Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was ambushed and killed. When they checked the murder scene, they found 2 AK-47, both traced straight back to the ATF's secret operation. Soon, these missing guns were popping up at murder scenes all over Mexico. What started as a botched tactical gamble turned into a massive federal bloodbath. Inside the agency, agents couldn't stomach it anymore. Whistleblowers started leaking the absolute truth to the press. They revealed that the bosses knew the guns were gone and ignored the warnings. Washington went into full-blown panic mode. The cover-up began. Congress started demanding the receipts. They wanted to know who authorized this, but the Department of Justice started playing games, stalling the documents. The Attorney General, Eric Holder, was suddenly in the hot seat. Congressman Darrell Issa led the charge, demanding an unfiltered accounting of the mess. Tensions got so high that officials were accused of burying evidence to save their jobs. It got so crazy, the House voted to hold the Attorney General in contempt. When the official report finally dropped, it just called it a systemic failure. But for Brian Terry's family, systemic failure doesn't bring their son back. Sure, politicians gave their little public apologies, but guess how many senior officials went to prison for this? 0. The scandal forced the ATF to completely gut their playbook, but it stands as a brutal reality check on what happens in the shadows. When the government lets weapons walk, the bill is paid in human blood. Brian Terry's death sparked a massive outrage over federal accountability. It showed exactly what happens when the line between catching criminals and arming them gets blurred. We watched the hearings on TV, looking for someone to blame, but even years later, the redacted files show they're still hiding things. That whole ends justify the means mentality. It failed and left a body count. Fast and Furious isn't just a mistake, it's the ultimate policy disaster. Think about it. The guns walked, a man died, and bureaucrats buried the truth. The map of the border is literally still stained by this operation. Because thousands of those missing weapons, they're still out there. The agency's reformed, but the scars from this are permanent. The media eventually moved on, but the families are still waiting for real justice. At a quiet desert memorial, the actual cost of this experiment is set in stone. The tracks are cold, and the desert keeps its deadliest secrets.